As usual, a lot is going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on World Edition. And of course, we'll be having Nick Palveda coming in from Austria and all along those lines. But let's get to the world events. We'll also see who else comes up, maybe Jatovi, maybe Sharif, maybe some of our other regulars as well, including Sasha Starr. But right now, Iran is touting videos of a purported Strait of Hormuz ship seizure. But Trump is ordering the U.S. to shoot and kill any boat laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. And there's even news from The Guardian that says it's impossible to reopen the Strait of Hormuz amid flagrant ceasefire breaches, is what Iran is saying. So definitely it looks like there's a lot of conversations about what ships can go through or not go through the Strait of Hormuz. And in the European country of Denmark, several were injured after two trains collided in Denmark. So there was a head on train collision near Copenhagen that left five critically injured and all in that way. So that was a trains that were colliding in that European country. UK and France have agreed to a 662 million pound deal on the channel crossings. So the UK and France agreed to a 3-year deal to curb channel crossings. So that is something that they are going on with their small boat deal. They don't want as many people doing that and all along those lines. So Mahmoud gives France a year to solve their migrant crisis. So they have a migrant crisis just like they say that we have one as well. So that is something that is going on there also. Prince Harry made a surprise visit to Ukraine. So he visited Kyiv in a show of support. And Prince Harry, on his visit to Kyiv, tells Putin to stop this war. So Prince Harry makes a surprise visit to war-torn Ukraine. The world sees you and it respects you, is what he says about Ukraine. And Ukraine oil pipeline restart enables EU loan approval. So a $106 billion loan reflects EU's view that peace in Ukraine is far away. So the EU has approved a 90 billion pound loan to Ukraine. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about, as well as the Druzhba pipeline that restarts Russia's oil flow to Europe, unblocking 105 billion pounds of euro loan for Kyiv. So definitely there's a lot going on in terms of financing and in terms of trying to keep these wars financed and everything like that. Lebanese journalists killed in targeted Israeli airstrikes, is what officials say. So the Lebanese journalist killed in Israeli attack had spoken of death threat. So definitely that's something that we're hearing about, as well as body of journalists for a pro Hezbollah deli pulled from the rubble of a Lebanon home. So the Lebanese prime minister has accused Israel of war crimes after the strike kills the journalist. And Australia is having a gas taxation. So who knows? Maybe we'll get Shaquille back on one of these future shows and he can talk about some of the things that are going on in Australia. But Albanese is posed to kill off the move to increase taxes on gas giants. Gas companies are spending millions on Australian advertising blitz to fight export tax, is what an inquiry has been told. So is a tax on the gas exports the answer to the government's budget woes, is what's being asked in Australia. And Lebanon decries Israeli demolition of homes in areas occupied after the ceasefire. So, after the Lebanon ceasefire, people displaced by Israeli strikes return to what's left of their homes. Photos show Lebanon's devastation as displaced residents return home. So, that's something that folks are talking about as well. And Iran's exiled crown prince, Reza Pavlia, was sprayed with a red liquid in Berlin. So he did not get a warm welcome when he went to Berlin. And G is weaponizing foreign airspace and latest bid to isolate Taiwan, is what Bloomberg.com is reporting. So the U.S. criticizes China's pressure on African countries to block Taiwan president's trip. So Lei Ching-te, Taiwan president, cancels trip after African countries revoke their flight permits. So definitely the Taiwan president is blaming China for forced cancellation of his Eswatini trip. So definitely that's something that's going on as well. And of course, the Pope is still continuing his trip around Africa and everything like that. He's visited Algeria, he's visited Equatorial Guinea, and in his trip to Equatorial Guinea, he was in their prisons he was criticizing them as he winds up his African tour. He's actually winding up his African tour now. So he bids farewell to that particular area and with it, Africa. So he's heading back to the Vatican, I believe, and everything like that. But he has done a trip around several African countries. The UK Parliament is approving a lifetime smoking ban for those born after 2008. So definitely that sounds like there'll be a lifetime ban. As a matter of fact, I believe my nephews were born around that time, but they do not live in that particular country, so it won't impact them and all along those lines. But who knows, these kind of laws may even be coming our way as well. But proposed lifetime smoking ban to become law in Britain. UK passes anti-tobacco bill to create a smoke-free generation. So we'll see if this actually works or not. So ABC7 Los Angeles reporting that the UK passes ban on cigarette purchases for anyone born after 2008. So it looks like they are trying to stop folks from that particular age from smoking and all along those lines. In terms of their rights, it'll be interesting to see whether that is allowed or not allowed. $28 billion and counting, Europe tallies the cost of another energy crisis. So EU aims to ease the energy blow from Iran war with tax cuts and gas coordination. So how the EU's mega energy crisis plan will and won't help. That's something that people are talking about as well. And folks, people are still talking about Mexico's Teotihuacan pyramid shooting, and a Canadian was killed and 6 Americans among the injured as the gunman shot tourists at that particular pyramid a few days ago. So now people are asking, can Mexico assure World Cup safety? Because if I remember correctly, it's supposed to be the United States, Mexico, and Canada involved in the World Cup. So the president is that area has issued a statement after the deadly pyramid attack. So I'm thinking that he is definitely saying that they will be beefing up security at tourist sites and will try to make sure that they are allowed to do this particular event and all along those lines. Trump likes a naval blockade, but Iran presents a big difference from Venezuela. So the Hill is saying that on Iran, Trump links first. So we'll find out what's going on. The National Review is even calling it the elusive Iran deal. And neither war nor peace with Iran as blockade stalls diplomacy. And a Palestinian schoolboy was among 2 killed by Israeli settlers. And that's something that folks are talking about as well. And a new treaty to end the fossil fuel era is needed more than ever, is what Monegabay is saying. So scientists tell Columbia Fossil Fuel Transition Summit to halt new expansion. So the end of oil as fuel shocks cascades, 53 nations are gathering to plan a fossil fuel phase out. So we got things that are being phased out left and right. And some folks are asking, including those at ArtNet News, how Pussy Riot is challenging Russia's return to the Venice Biennale. So EU to cut Venice Biennale funding over Russia's participation is what Callas is saying. So Ukraine appeals to Italy not to issue visas to Russia's participants in the Venice Biennale and everything like that. So we'll see whether they actually get to participate or not in that particular event. I'm not all that familiar with that event, and I'd be curious to know what kind of event it is. Apparently, it's an art event of some sort or another. The Trump administration has moved to reclassify cannabis in a major shift that could expand research. So Trump administration reclassifies cannabis as less dangerous. So I know that one of our guys on this particular network, Jeff Eichen, will be glad to hear about this as he does our show Weeds on Wednesday at 3:00. And he had an amazing guest on that had been involved with Cheers and had taken a lot of photographs and some, including some of the reggae legends like Peter Tosh and Burning Spear on yesterday. So if you get a chance, you can go back and watch those clips on his YouTube as well as on our YouTube Meeting Pod TV and all along those lines. But it was a very good interview. I actually popped in for a minute as well. Trump reclassifies his state licensed medical marijuana as a less dangerous drug in a historic shift. And John Fallon's departure as Navy Secretary, U.S. Navy Secretary Fallon, fired as naval blockade of Iran continues. So tensions rise in 2 ceasefires in the Middle East, and the Navy Secretary has been ousted. And Gilgo Beach serial killer's ex-wife relives slaying every night sleeping in kill room. So Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Harriman had 4-day killing ritual to keep secret life hidden is what a documentary is revealing. Gilgo Beach killer told his wife that he murdered 7 women in their house. And Rex Heuermann's ex-wife sleeps in the basement where he dismembered his victims. I am haunted by dreams. And the Senate GOP rams through bankroll blueprint to bankroll ICE and Border Patrol through the end of Trump era. So Republicans take first step toward funding ICE without the help of the Democrats. So the Senate adopts the GOP budget, defeating Democrats' affordability proposals. So there's a lot of stuff going on in that space as well. Like I said, lots going on in the world, including an independent Senate hopeful trying to scare off Montana Democrats and all along those lines. And we do know that the proposal won in Virginia about redistricting and all along those lines. So there's a lot going on in the world. I do have Nick Palveda with me, as well as Jitova, and we'll see who else joins us as well. So we're going to have you're a lawyer, Nick, so I guess the first thing I'm curious to hear from you is, are we going to have an attempt to ban young people like my nephews from smoking in the way that the UK is doing? Because apparently they're proposing a lifetime ban, like you can't buy cigarettes anymore at 2008 and all along those lines. Now, whether this actually works or whether it's even seen as being feasible, that'll be interesting. But apparently London is trying to create a generation of non-smokers.
Can you hear me, Mark?
I can hear you.
Well, good luck to you and welcome, everybody. I'm broadcasting from Vienna, Austria, of all places, which is not Australia where Shaquille's from. Right. It's Austria, which is in the middle of Europe. In terms of the ban and what's going on here in Europe, they can pass laws like that, but it's just like marijuana. How are they going to enforce it? As they say, in other words, you made your decision, now enforce it. And that's what Andrew Jackson said during the Trail of Tears. He goes, okay, Supreme Court, you made your decision, now enforce it. So the problem is enforceability. How are you going to enforce it? You can create whatever law you want for the benefit of people, or at least purportedly, and how are you going to enforce it? Now, the big thing that happened, you discussed on your show, Mark, was the loan grant, or whatever you want to call it, the EU is giving Ukraine. It's over $100 billion to buy military equipment and to fund military operations against Russia. It went through because Ereban, or whoever that guy's name is, Hungary, got ousted, and Hungary no longer has an opposition. Behind it is another $100 billion. By the way, Russia's total military budget was around 70 billion. I think it's moved up to 120 billion. So what the EU is saying, we're willing to put in more money than the entire Russian budget, which they can, because the EU, where I live, is very big, 423 million people compared to the US, around 330 million. Although the GDP of the EU is not as big as the United States, because the people here believe in living, not working for capitalism. I mean, it's just a different way of life. So I think you're going to see more support, because I think the EU really favors Ukraine over Russia in that particular skirmish. But
no, that makes sense. But you mentioned Orban and everything like that. I had read another article. I did not mention it this time, but Orban was an ally of the U.S. and particularly of Trump and everything like that. But they're now wondering if another ally is going to fall very soon, that being Netanyahu, because people are frustrated by gas prices. They're frustrated by what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz. They're frustrated by a lot of other things, including those in Israel. So there is some speculation that he may eventually get ousted. So I was wondering what you and Jacoby think of this, because he would be the next ally to go down after Orban already went down. But there is some speculation that there might be some forces amassing in Israel that are ready to get him out of government, maybe even to face some trials, because there's some people that say that he has committed various war crimes and everything like that. So what is our take on this? Is he going to be the next one of Trump's allies to disappear?
Well, I think that's highly possible. He barely got in to begin with. And, he's created a lot of havoc in the Gaza Strip. And we know he got Trump's ear into this Iranian conflict. So, the guy's kind of bad news. And I think the Israelis may get rid of him because it's hard to pursue peace with a bunch of warmongers. I mean, it just isn't going to happen. And that's the same problem with Putin, although Putin is very popular in Russia, which tells us a lot about Russians, doesn't it? Where Trump, let's face it, he's really not that popular in the United States. Yeah. I mean, maybe 30%, of the population back them, but that means 70% don't. So Trumpism is probably going to be dead in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think Trump is. Go ahead.
So the interesting thing is, Viktor Orban definitely was ousted. The people were able to finally stand up and get him out. They've been wanting to get him out for a little while. Netanyahu, yes, Netanyahu was on shaky ground in the first place. He, if I remember, didn't really win the first election outright. And honestly, I don't remember if he really won the second one. It was because they had to redo it. But yeah, the people have been wanting to get rid of Netanyahu for a long time. Hence the reason why there are the conspiracy theories around how the war between that started with Israel and Hamas. That's where the conspiracies came from. Was that it was because Netanyahu needed the war to stay in power, because yes, he was actually facing corruption charges before the war started, and then now he's facing corruption and war crimes. But with Russia, there are people want Putin gone, but because Putin has the military, the oligarchy, all the might and everything else, it's harder to get him out due to the fact of all the things that are there, the pressures, because it's just like what happens in Iran when the people of Iran wanted the Ayatollah gone, but they can't get that regime to change due to the fact of military might, so on and so forth. So it's just, I wouldn't say that Putin is popular, more so that Putin is powerful.
He's definitely powerful and everything like that. I see we've got Dr. Sharif as well. And I know a lot of times, even on this show, we talk about climate change and all along those lines. So I was just curious, because one of the other things that I mentioned that was trying to be phased out, and I don't know how y'all feel about it. Y'all are car drivers. I get around by mass transit, but mass transit depends on fuel as well and everything like that. But there is this notion that as fuel is shocking, the fuel prices are shocking the nations, and not just our country of the United States, but around the world, that there is an effort to phase out fossil fuel. So will we see the end of fossil fuel in our lifetime and everything like that? Because there's a whole fossil fuel transition summit, which is trying to halt the expansion and get us into more safer kind of energy sources and everything like that, whether that's solar, whether that's wind, or whether that's whatever. But what is y'all's take? Because we are definitely a gas society. People love their cars, people love their vehicles and everything like that. But do you think that in our lifetime, which may be, hopefully another 30, 40, 50 years and everything like that, depending on how wishful you are making it to 100 or beyond and everything like that. But in our lifetime, or in your case, Jacoby, your child's lifetime or children's lifetime, do you think we'll see the end of fossil fuel?
Yeah, this is very interesting discussion. Even this challenging situation, especially in the energy challenging situations. If you see right now in Bangladesh losing a lot of garments industry jobs from USA, because most of the people, they think in between 2-3 months Bangladesh will not have energy. For that issues, they are shifting from Bangladesh to India. So this energy is a major challenges for our country right now. Secondly, we do not have natural resources, but if you see our climate related effect and other things, we have flood. As we are near to Himalaya, we have river oriented challenge, we have climate oriented challenge, and so on. So in that situations, 95% of our energy sources come through Middle East. So this Middle East crisis also be very challenging for us. Secondly, as we need green energy and so on, we need like green investment, right? This solar investment and so on, where Belt and Road Initiative can be a productive thing. But as Bangladesh is a very good ally for USA, Bangladesh has some sort of business agreement with the US government. So when we go for buying our oil and gas, we need to get approval from USA. Why? Because we cannot purchase our oil and gas from Russia. So these are the very complex and challenging situation, country like Bangladesh, very complex situations. Let's say if you need China Belt and Road Initiative investment, right now you have to get approval from USA. USA will not invest in Bangladesh for energy sources and other things. So we do not have enough fund to invest in our energy sources for green things. So it's very complex, very dynamic, very challenging situation for Bangladesh. And this after this war and all of the things, it's look very challenging. On the other hand, when this Hormuz, we have our like ship coming through Hormuz. So Iran says that as you are ally for USA, you cannot get your ship through Hormuz. So they stop our ship. So you understand, for as Bangladesh is a very small country, we are ally for USA, and we have lot of burden in our energy sources, as well as we have our business and other things. So everything is very challenging situation right now. So what Bangladesh do? Bangladesh will solve climate problem, or Bangladesh go for day-to-day situation. Bangladesh will solve Iran issues, or Bangladesh will follow USA, or Bangladesh will be ally with China. So these are the very dynamic and challenging situations Bangladesh has. So what actually we can do, like good media like Pot TV, they can promote Bangladesh, right? They can be a good ally for Bangladesh, and we can raise our productive voice or positive voice in the Western world. And maybe through this process, through the diplomacy, maybe it will be solved. That's why tomorrow we have a very interesting conference. We do focus on investment, finance. Finance is the most important component right now for emerging economy. And Bangladesh win Nobel Prize for microfinance. So my Nobel Prize winning team, they are joining in these things. Local group of companies chairman and politicians, they are also joining in our conference. And I want to invite you all. So this is very complex situations, country like Bangladesh. Where you go? We should go for China and Russia ally, or we should go under the Indian alignment, or we should go under US element. As Bangladesh choose USA, Bangladesh has a lot of challenges. So we do not know what to do. US will decide. We will follow.
Well, you can choose a lot of the above because it's not mutually exclusive. You can have good relationships with China and the US. I'll tell you over here in Vienna, Austria, where I'm at right now, there's a pipeline between here and China. They have nonstop flights from China to Vienna, and the Chinese are coming here in droves, and they're the nicest people in the world too. They're all up in the Intercontinental Hotel right now where I'm staying at, and they just love Europe. I mean, they just really nice people coming in from China. So there's nothing wrong with pursuing multiple strategies, Dr. Sharif. In other words, being on good terms with China, because there's a lot of good people there, good terms with the United States, because there are some good people there. In other words, I think what you have to do is make sure that you're doing business with the right people, because there's good people in every country, but unfortunately there's bad people in every country. So find the good people, work with them. And there's a lot of people out there around the world that are trying to be positive and effectuate positive change, as opposed to there's also that group of negative people. And some cases you can work as hard as you want and you can't do anything with them. In terms of energy, I'll tell you something interesting about Austria, which I did not know about until I flew in here. They have wind farms all over the place. They're so big, I thought the airplane was going to crash into one of them on landing. They have them near the landing strips. Normally, you're not going to put a 200-foot tall wind farm right next to a landing strip, but in Austria they do. And so if you ever happen to fly into Vienna, look at out to your right and left and look at all the wind farms going around like this to generate energy that's renewable. And that's something that Bangladesh and other countries need to pursue, is independent energy sources from wind, from solar, from hydroelectricity. So they're not reliant on foreign oil from any country or any form of foreign products. The more self-sufficient you are, the better off you're going to be. And I think that's what all countries have to pursue. And I think Austria is doing it. Spain is basically off the grid, so they're not reliant on oil. They have huge solar farms everywhere. But remember, they're in a hot country. A lot of sunlight, so they can do it. Austria doesn't have as much sun, but they have a lot of wind, so they pursue a wind strategy. So there's different strategies that you can pursue depending on where you're at geographically. But congratulations on the event tomorrow. I'll be traveling, so I'll miss it. But I know on Pod TV I can always watch the reruns or watch them as they're stored later on, and I can see the show. But it sounds like we're gonna have a good show there.
Yeah, it sounds like a great show.
I'm actually organizing a strategic conference. You are right, with planning ministry, maybe next 6 months. So we are inviting our prime ministers to our different largest business corporations and academia for this kind of conference. Also around 30 different countries, people from around the world. So definitely I will invite you all from Pod TV in our high quality conference. So we are developing innovative strategy, what you are discussing, and hopefully you can get a excellent business partnerships as well as exclusivity in our country. I will invite you all.
Yeah, I got a question for both of you, and Toby, and even. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, I think to answer the question that you were originally asked about if we're ever going to get off oil,
right.
The answer is no. Reason being, you have too many countries that their whole economy is based around that. If you look at all the OPEC nations, they're not going to be able to relinquish that power that they have and that financial power that they have within our lifetime or even any child's lifetime of today. And I agree. I think we all agree that a diversification in that energy sources, because the advancements of nuclear fusion and nuclear fission, as well as wind, hydro, and so on and so forth, are necessary. And hopefully, we can start to move towards those renewables and those cleaner technologies. But where the money is, that's where we're going to stay. And sadly, that oil also is how we produce our plastics, so on and so, and other items that we also tend to forget about. So no, there's no getting rid of oil, and I doubt there'll be a reduction in oil due to the fact that the countries themselves that have such control over those commodities.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Everything like that. This is a question for all of you, and it's actually a more positive news kind of. We always talk about some of the negative news that goes on and all along those lines. But I just wonder, do you think that we sometimes underestimate the power of our young people? I know, Dr. Sharif, you work with a lot of our young people and everything like that. I had the pleasure yesterday of having some students from one of our local academies come by the Cultural Arts Center that I work at, and they were asking some very pertinent questions about history and about other things. So I was actually pleasantly surprised, whereas a lot of times we hear the negative news about the gangs and the drugs and everything else that the kids are doing that are bad and everything like that. But I don't think that we hear enough of the positive news. And this was a immersion project where they had to come and visit an area. So they came from Cary, North Carolina to Durham, North Carolina to get a sense of history and to learn about the history and all along those lines. So I was just wondering to all of you, since I know everybody here, including to some degree, Nick has worked with our young people. Are we not giving them enough credit for the positive things that they are doing in society?
Mark, absolutely not. We're not giving enough credit, because remember you told me about that award that took place, but it got no love and got no. The media doesn't pick that up, even though it was very positive. And so the real problem is that we have people tend to really tune in to negative stuff. And sometimes, like, there's a website called, used to be Twitter, it's now called X.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever gone to that, but it almost like promotes everything in the world that's negative. Have you ever looked at that site, Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it? It's a very negative site, but it has a lot of following, but it's also extremely negative. There's not a lot of positive things to say about X. And we broadcast through X. But I'm just saying that this is one of the problems that society faces, even though the vast majority of the people are probably very positive and want to do good for society, the media and the negative people tend to get the front seats. In other words, on media. In other words, and the people that are doing good, like Dr. Sharif, tend to sit in the back seats. Well, I think we're going to have Pod TV change that. We're going to try to give Sharif the top seat, and then the guy who killed 7 children of his own family, put them in the back seat somewhere. In other words, don't give them front center attention. That thing doesn't deserve attention. But what Dr. Sharif is doing with his World Talent Economic Forum does deserve attention, because Dr. Sharif is all about positive change in the world, and that helps everybody. And I commend him for keep fighting that, when on the other side there's so many people trying to drag everything into the mud. So congratulations on what you're doing there, Counselor.
I think it's a lot deeper than that, though, Nick, because I think what you're touching on is a surface level that's always been there. We always watch car races for the car crashes. We always watch football for the big hits. We always watch because that destruction sells. Yeah, that's always been there. But I think it's deep. The deep that I'm talking, deeper than that. What I'm talking about is we don't give young people credit on their innovation, on their intelligence. So as an analogy, and this is the, go with me on this one, because this is a neat analogy. This is a discussion of time. So there's a theory in time. There's a theory about how time flows. One of those theories talks about how time happens everywhere simultaneously. So at this moment in time is also this happening at the same time when I was 5 years old. So that's happening. So time is just a progression, but you're living in those particular slates of time. And what happens is we live in our slate of time. We live in, you guys are older than I am. We're older than Dr. Sharif, but we have a different perspective on life, but that perspective comes from our time that we live in. And we don't live in the day and age these young kids are growing up in. They've only known AI. We grew up before AI was there. They've only known cell phones. We grew up before cell phones existed. So their understanding around cell phones is a much deeper and a better connection. We can tell people about rotary phones and how they work and the ins and outs, and AOL, how it kicked us off. But they can tell us about ways to deal with Twitch, social media, so on and so forth, how to navigate the actual internet, how to program a phone better than we can, how to look at the cars themselves. A Ford Model T, when it was there, is completely different. Because if we think about our time, about how we design a car, is going to be completely different than what a 15-year-old growing up in this day and time is going through. And their innovation and their intelligence around what people want now is much deeper and much greater than what we have at our day and time, because we're thinking about what we would like. I would think about, hey, in my time, I wouldn't want the button there. But if you think about the day and age that these kids are growing up with and the innovations that they come up with, they may not want a button, because typically people use fingerprint sensors to actually navigate, or even a touch screen, or something that could work better. But we don't give that acknowledgement that their innovative ideas are really what's driving the future and really what's pushing us down the road. We're thinking about, hey, we want the glory because we always know. We're the wise ones. We have that age. Yes, experience, age, wisdom is not all about intelligence. And these young people and their intelligence today is just off the map. And we should be able to use our wisdom to help them navigate that intelligence so they can actually become wise and utilize what they know about today to help not only us, but those that come after them. And that's where we forget that these kids today are extremely intelligent, and we should actually move them forward and congratulate them when they do great things. Congratulate them when they come up with an idea. So yeah, I think that's where the depth is.
No, I agree with you, Toby, and everything like that. But I was curious, and this is for everybody. Do you also worry about our generation in the turbulent times that they have lived in? Because I was actually watching earlier an episode, it might have been yesterday, of like one of those criminal shows. It might have been Homicide or one of those. But it was one of the episodes was set when 9/11 happened. That was in 2001. So anybody that is about to be 25 later on this year, they would have been like possibly an infant when that happened and everything like that, depending on when they were born and all along those lines. So I'm thinking about people that are 25 and younger, like my nephews will be 17 and 18 in August. They have gone through a pandemic. In the case of the 25-year-old, they've gone through the towers falling and all the other attacks that took place. They've seen all of these wars that have taken place. So they've been through, like I said, that pandemic and the various wars. They've seen a president that can sometimes seem very unstable and all along those lines. So I just wonder, do you worry about the impact of these kind of things? Because this is one of the most turbulent generations, I think, probably that we've ever had, just because if you think about the things that have gone on in the last 25 years and how that may impact our young people and everything like that. I don't know. Do you ever worry about that? Joey, your kids are teenagers and they are a preteen, I believe, and everything like that. And I know like I said, I don't have any, but my nephews are 17 and 18. And I sometimes wonder about the impact that these turbulent times are going to have on them later. I had the pleasure yesterday of having a guest on my show, The Online Dinner Party, and she was talking about the impact that the pandemic had on our education system and how it's still impacting our education system.
Turbulence is a subjective view.
Okay.
Their turbulent times are different from ours. When we grew up, Mark, back in the 60s, back in the 70s, back in the 80s, if you were in that time, your parents told you that it was a turbulent time because you had different things happening. So again, and that essentially is my point, is that talking about the day and age that we live in, yeah, we have experiences with, for example, 9/11, to hearing about stories about Vietnam. One of the greatest songs that ever was out there, Bill Withers, I Can't Write Left-Handed. That was a discussion about a guy who lost his arm, his right arm, when he was fighting the war in Vietnam. You know who's never experienced that? Anybody who's never gone to Vietnam.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have.
I agree.
So
I agree with you, Toby. Yeah, every generation has their challenges. Look at the people that went through the Depression, World War II, the people went through World War I and the Spanish flu. Everybody will have a challenging time, and everybody will have their own personal challenges. The key thing is, how do you respond to the challenges? That's the key. What are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle those challenges? And all along those lines. I did have another question, and this is actually
not only with that, to add on to that, I completely agree, Nick. How do you respond to it? And that is where wisdom comes into play, because we can tell people how we responded to our turbulent times, but do not tell them that they have to do this because this is what I'm going to do. They have to learn how to navigate those times so they can understand based on Dr. Sharif's experience. This 15-year-old can see how to navigate the financial markets the way Dr. Sharif did. But the financial markets of this day and age that Dr. Sharif isn't dealing with is different from what this kid is dealing with, but he can understand and get some relationships and figure a way to move forward that way. So it's just how do you respond to it? This is how I responded. Let's figure out. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was going to switch topic just slightly and everything like that, but Nick, you travel a lot. You travel to different places. You're in Vienna, Australia right now. And one of the stories that I did not get to and everything like that is that there are people that are concerned about security, whether that's the security of the airport, whether that's wiretap from foreign governments and everything like that. Because I just saw that the U.S. settled a wiretap lawsuit with Carter Page for $1.25 million. And that was over the 2016 Trump campaign and the Russian probe and everything like that. So it's one that travels around a lot. How concerned are you? Because I know that even sometimes our other founder, Kim, has said that she has not gone on trips. I know she's going to the Kentucky Derby this year, but she did not go to Zero Week because she was worried about security and everything like that. I just mentioned Mexico, and it's how some people may be concerned about security at that part of the world. Because apparently we're using 3 countries, Mexico, the U.S., and Canada, in the Olympics this year. So as one that travels a lot and everything like that, and I know Jacoby travels some as well. I haven't done much travel. Dr. Shriek travels a lot. He's been here to the United States. How concerned about the three of you about security and your own security?
Yeah, well, there's 2 types of security. There's physical and today financial or cyber security.
Right.
One problem, and you've brought this up on the network many times, Mark, and you do a good job bringing people in on cybersecurity issues. Everybody faces cybersecurity threats. Everybody who's listening to this can be attacked and hacked. And this is going to be it's a big problem growing at a very rapid rate as we use the internet more and more for financial transactions. And there's more ability for people to come steal your identity, steal your email, recreate Dr. Sharif, even though he's different. Just create him as your own person and then steal everything he has. So cybersecurity is going to be a big problem on a going forward basis around the world. In terms of physical security, you just have to be careful and keep your eyes open. For example, a lot of flights were canceled between here and anything going to the Middle East or through Dubai because of the war. And they just don't want to take the risk, because think about it, Mark. If you take an airplane and it flies in Dubai and it gets bombed, the amount of negative repercussions for that airline is off the charts. So what they do is they just cancel that. But I think everybody, what you have to do in terms of physical security, do your research before you go somewhere and see what the situation is. And in the United States, there are safe places, relatively, and there's some very dangerous places today in the United States. But it's not that. It's all over the world. There's safe places, I'm sure, in Bangladesh, and there's some places that aren't safe. The Dr. Sharif said, you probably shouldn't go there. So you just have to keep your eyes open and do your research on the internet. And I say do your research because the other day I worked with AI, and boy, it came out with some really great answers very quickly. There's absolutely no question AI will start to dominate legal research and perhaps research in general. It's quicker, faster, more efficient. I don't know what people are going to do. If you're in a research position, you may be out of a job.
But yes, I would completely, physical is the easy and the obvious, but cybersecurity is the huge one. Cybersecurity with the advancements in AI, honestly, don't sit and trust AI completely. AI has a bunch of flaws. It can tell you some great things and easy to read, but make sure you do your research completely in that area if you're going to go, because AI, again, has flaws. But also with the advancement of AI can crack passwords. It can crack a whole bunch of stuff and get your information and send it anywhere that it needs to go, or anywhere that somebody wants to go. Look into a VPN. You can a VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. There are a couple of different VPNs that are out there that you can pay for. Nord is one of them. VPN Shark is another. There are a ton of them out there, but look into a VPN when you go overseas. That helps protect your information, or it helps protect. It's a little bit of extra layer. It can still be hacked, but also be careful where you jump on Wi-Fi, because you can have some Wi-Fi phishing that goes on, takes your information directly from your phone. So there's a bunch of things that you want to look into in terms of cybersecurity, and just be prepared when you go overseas, because yes, there are a lot more, especially dealing with financial, because a lot of what's going on is they take your financial information based off of your cyber, just using the phishing on the phone, grabbing the information right from there. They've got all your information, and you won't be able to get in your bank account because they've stolen all your money and locked you out. Also, don't click on emails that you don't seem familiar with. Also, check that email, the address it's coming from, because it could say the same name that you know, but if it's coming from a strange address, because it makes it puts in a fake name, or you read the text could have a space in some area that you don't know or don't really recognize. Like it could have an extra It could do, instead of "and," it would have "a" space "n." There are little bitty things that you can look for cybersecurity purposes. But yeah, definitely keep an eye out. That's the big one that you don't really realize.
Yeah, Jacoby, along those same lines, I think that sometimes people are surprised because I know that there'll even be commercials like from the IRS and some of the other agencies that they will never approach you unsolicited and everything like that. But sometimes people are not as aware of that. And as soon as they see a government agency, and I think this is even worldwide and everything like that, they are automatically assuming that it is legitimate, even though a lot of these agencies will tell you outright that they will never solicit you unwelcomely and everything like that. But they'll even, because I know there's a couple of commercials where the IRS basically says we're not going to send any unsolicited emails to you and everything like that. So if you get something that's from irs.gov, you ought to be wary of it, for lack of a better term.
Correct. I mean, and that's what that's what they prey on, because they prey on individuals that end up falling for those, easily susceptible to those, because it's a scare tactic. Oh no, you're going to have to pay, or we're the IRS, we're coming for you. You owe us $1,000. We're sending somebody to get you, and that hits a lot of people in the boomer era or the boomer age. Hits them big time because, again, the lack of understanding of of how the internet works, that grabs boomer generation, and that's how they're getting taken advantage of quickly. It also, as an analogy, some of the smartest people out there are anti-vaxxers, are flat earthers, because in that a lot of very smart people fall for conspiracies, and they fall for these things as well. That's another thing that these individuals prey on. I mean, the lady that we had on a few days back that you brought on talking about cybersecurity said the same thing. It's all about using individuals' curiosity, fears, and so on and so forth against them, and it gets them to click on that email or buy whatever, and then they can't get their money back. They have to go through the bank and jump through many different hoops just to get their money back. It happens on a regular basis. So yeah, those are the things that these individuals prey on.
Yep. You got to be real careful about that and everything like that, because I know that go
Well,
ahead, Dr. Sharif.
one important aspect I just want to add, as you are bringing very diversified wicked problems and the solutions, especially for cybersecurity. Even in the this war in between Iran, Israel, as well as in USA, you can see this misinformation and disinformation is a major challenges and problem in the global media. Lot of challenges we have in social media. There are a lot of misinformation and disinformations. It's massive problem. People are confused, people are divided, people do not have real information, people have wrong perceptions, and it's create massive problem for each and every country. Even Bangladesh government right now, they are trying to introduce a new law for content creator because of this misinformation and disinformation. So that's why I request maybe this Spot TV. It's a very good media. It's not a propaganda machine. This is not an ally for the big corporations. You also bring small countries news, like for Bangladesh. I'm just discussing about Bangladesh, right? It's a very small country, and you are discussing this one. So I think that this initiative we should promote worldwide. The Spot TV. We should engage with more of our audience, because through this process we can solve this misinformation and disinformation, which is heavily affected. Even this war, we have energy crisis, right? There are millions of people actually have energy related crisis. This is not because of we do not have enough source of energy. It's a major problem is misinformation and disinformation. So this media, the media activities, the Pod TV activities, we should explore, we should share with, we should invite more audience. That by this way they can get real information and real message. So misinformation and disinformation is a massive problem, and good media like Pod TV, it can solve. So this is also another issues for us.
Yeah, no doubt about
And
that.
I would love to co-sign that. I mean, honestly, it'd be a great thing to do. The top internet scams that are going around as a Pod TV show. because that would be something, you could take the top 20, top 10, because then you could hit international, just like Dr. Sharif is talking about, and take, okay, well, this is an email scam that's going around right now. Please be wary of this. These are AI videos that are all propaganda videos talking about war, talking about oil, talking about what the famine here, which I would love to do, hey, these are the top scams that are happening right now, and really have that as a weekly show. Right now, emails are going out for boomers. Oh, you missed your taxes, or hey, we have you signed up for Medicare. You can claim
now
this.
now you mention it, Shovi, we're creating a new channel on Roku called TechStream, and Rex Lee is going to be heading it up with cyber security issues and technology issues that are coming up. And I'll ask him about cyber scams, in other words, as a show, because he's going to do this like on a full-time basis. He's got a sponsor or several sponsors, and it's going to be one of our channels on Roku and Amazon. And it's a TechStream channel, so it'll all be about technology issues. I don't think any of the major networks in the United States have a tech show. Maybe they do.
They do.
I haven't seen it. Do they?
So you've got multiple tech streams that are out there, from CNET to ZNet to MSNBC has a tech show. They all do a tech stream online, but nobody.
Do they have a channel? Because this is going to be a channel that goes on 24/7.
I think CNET has one. You can check CNET, and then there are a few others that have tech streams. But nobody's really focused in on that niche that Dr. Sharif was referencing, which would be helpful to a lot more people than just another tech stream.
I agree with you and everything like that, and nothing against Rex and what he's doing and all along those lines. And I think there will be some great programming. But to your point, and if you're willing to help me create it, because they pretty much got me doing the programming along with the other gentleman that actually lines the shows up, whose name is something, Sean, along with Sean and everything like that. So if that's something that you want to create, I'd be glad to do that. I've introduced 2 other shows that are now on the area, including the Butterfly Room, which is dealing with psychology and all along those lines. And that goes along and is a companion piece to Dr. Diamond's On the Couch and everything like that. So that's 2 of the shows that deal with psychology, because both of them are trained therapists and everything like that. So to tell you that's something that you're interested in doing, we still got to get Gamers Den back as well. But if that's something that you want to help me with, and all along those lines, to be the front face of it, find a front face, I would gladly have that here on the network and everything like that. And I think I can say that Nick and Kim have given me kind of carte blanche to create shows and everything like that. Because I know I'm working on a science show with Daryl Stover and some others as well. So definitely that's something we can talk about.
So Mark, you actually have a show called Dr. Diamond on the Couch.
It's called On the Couch, but it's Dr. Diamond. It's actually Dean Geronimo's wife, April, and I think her full name is April Diamond, or that's her line name, because I think
I like the name On the Couch.
On the Couch, yeah, this is a great name, and she airs regularly and everything like that. And then the Butterfly Room is her companion piece, Toya, and Toya will be actually on tomorrow at 8:00. They actually alternate. That's what I meant when I said they alternate. So Toya is every other Friday at 8:00. Dr. Diamond is every other Saturday at 11:00, and goes till like 1:00 and everything like that, unless they have schedule conflicts and everything like that. We've only got another 7 minutes. I was going to bring up another issue, and we can talk about it later on as well, maybe on World Politics or World Edition tomorrow. But I just want to set the table for it and everything, because you kind of alluded to it before. But Dr. Sharif, how big is the migrant issue? Because one of the stories I mentioned earlier was some issues, some efforts to curb migration in certain other countries. We hear about it all the time in the U.S., whether it's migrants coming from Canada or migrants coming from the Latin American countries. But it seems like other countries are also trying to curb migrants coming from their country. So how big is the migrant population in Bangladesh? And do y'all encourage migrants to come to your country and everything like that? Because some countries are trying to curb the migration coming to their countries.
Yeah, this is very good question. If you see Bangladesh right now, we have our Rohingya issues. It's a very, very big challenging issues, because we are inviting millions of people from Myanmar, and they stay in our country. Our country is very small, When it's a 1/5 of California, but we have around 171 million issues. So we are taking responsibilities for Rohingyas and migrations and so on. But one thing I just want to share, because as I work with Wisdom Affairs, as I work with talent economy, uh, definitely USA is one of the great destinations for migrations, because all of the intellectuals, all of the talented people, they get a great opportunity in USA. Even I get a great support by this Nick Palveda and all of the people from Port TV. So things is that if these immigration nations like USA, like Canada, like Australia, like those who need people, right, the Japan or Europe, I think they should invite talented people to contribute for their economy, right? Not only through this financials and other things, they can contribute through wisdom and other things. Through this process, definitely through this process, uh, your business corporations like Port TV can make a great media corporations in USA or in Europe through the audience of Bangladesh. So you need talented people who can work for you. You need group of people and teams who can create a great effort for your company. So the great company need great people, and the talent people need great place. So this migration things, I think we should focus on talent, we should focus on wisdom, we should focus on definitely emerging economy people is hardworking and consistent and honest. So through this process we can build up more good company, and when you have a good company you can create more job opportunity, more economic contribution, right, more financial stability. Even USA should invite more talented peoples in their economy who can contribute, who can help them to engage with Bangladesh or India or Malaysia or Myanmar. So this is a dynamic procedures. I think these dynamic procedures can help to grow the $1 trillion economy, help to grow $1 trillion companies, and that's why I think talented people, talent economy, wisdom affairs is very important for immigration nations. And I just want to request, or through this program, to all of the US the law enforcement body and policymakers, please focus on the talented people. Please focus on these wise people, those who can help you to grow your economy. And this way you can be productive and you can be very, very meaningful. We do not need wire. We just need to invite all of the talented people to develop better visions, better objective. That is the way we can make a brilliant country, brilliant company, and brilliant communities. That is very, very essential.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense and everything like that. Hey, this is a question, and it'll be the last question, but I tell Miss Kim that I was going to ask it, and I asked actually another show when I think Sasha was on, and maybe others were on as well. And I know that for Kim, it would be Bruno Mars, but y'all know because I've had some different guests on my show, but also on this World Edition and everything like that. And I'm one of those people that will go out and reach out to people that you might want on the show that are your favorite people and all along those lines, because all they can do is tell me no and everything like that. So unless I find their emails and I can reach them. Now, some of them have walls of security or walls of ways not to be easy to be found and everything like that. But my question to you is, what would be your dream person that you would love to have a conversation with? I know I think for Kim, it was definitely Bruno Mars and maybe the Obamas and everything like that. So I'll start with you, Nick, but I also want to hear from Dr. Sharif. And it could be somebody that I don't even know. It could be from like Malaysia, or like a famous person or a famous cricket player or politician. But who is somebody that you've not been in touch with that you would love to see as a guest on Pod TV? I'm just throwing it out.
Very good question. I was big fan of Obama because of his speech. I don't know if you can invite Obama in your shows or in our program. I think it will be amazing, because I was a part of debate team, and I can remember that time I grew in a very small place. It's called Rajbari in Bangladesh, and we learned debate and other things and speech through American presidential debate. And that time, Obama's speech was one of the excellent things. So I don't know, like maybe through this way, right now my student, my communities, in one university we have around 16,000 students. Another university is a pure engineering student. It has around 4-5,000 students. So it will be great, great podcast for us, for our audience.
Well, we'll see what we can do about trying to find Mr. Obama. If we can't find him, maybe we can find Michelle or Michelle's brother, who I know is actually on the podcast world, as is Michelle Obama, and with her brother. So if we can't get the president, maybe we can get his wife and her brother. But who would it be that you would want, and all along those lines? And maybe it's some business person that you haven't had the pleasure of interviewing. I know you've interviewed a lot of people, like the founder of Dunkin' Donuts and the founder of a lot of other things, including I think Netflix and everything like that. But who is somebody that you haven't had or that you would like to have again, even from your interviews that you did with Kim back in the day and everything like that? So who is somebody that you would love to have appear on Pod TV?
Well, I agree with Sharif. If you could get Obama, that'd be really great, Mark. But if you can't, see if you can get Bill Clinton. I hear he's not doing very much right now. So he might be willing to show up to a podcast on the Pod TV network. So we'll ask Bill, well, where have you been, Billy boy, Billy boy? Where have you been, charming Billy? So let's see if we can get Bill Clinton on.
Well, let's see if we can get Bill Clinton on, and we'll reach out to him. And if we can't get Bill, maybe we can get Hillary, or maybe we can even get Chelsea on as well. So I'll reach out and see what the Clintons are available. On that note, we're going to get on out of here. I'll set up that show for Dr. Sharif, will be coming up at 1 o'clock and all along those lines. I believe you do that on your panel. On your, well, I can still see you if I can't hear you and everything, but you do that on the Nick account, right?
Yeah.
I think he does that on the Nick account, but I'll find out and I'll put up that link and send that to him and everything like that. But right now, let's get on out of here.